Mark Settle, and I actually am thrilled today to be joined by somebody that I've known for quite a while, Shobhana Ahluwalia. Is that close? And she goes by Shobz, which makes it easy for all of us. And we're going to skip the preliminaries and get right down to business. And I'm frankly so tired of talking about COVID that I thought we would take this time to talk about technology instead. I'm not suggesting we can totally sidestep COVID, but I wanted to talk about a technology opportunity and a challenge, which I thought is relevant to Uber's business. So I should have introduced you as the first CIO at Uber. You've been there about 5 years, and you have an interesting mix in your background of big company experience at places like CNET Networks and CBS, and then you were at an ad tech firm called Rocket Fuel before you came to Uber. So that's quite a broad spectrum of experience. And if I'm correct, you came up sort of on the application side of IT. That's your area of expertise.
That's right. I grew up, I started with writing driver level programs. So I wrote driver code, driver programs in C a long time ago when paging was still hot and new. So basically I wrote driver code for the Motorola switches that converted your pages into something that you can actually read. And then over time, I worked through the application end. And that's where I say I grew up, and that's where hopefully my chops are evolved.
So the opportunity area I wanted to talk about was automation. So you can't look at LinkedIn or pick up a trade article without automation being proclaimed as some brand new thing that IT has discovered for the first time, which is, I think, is ironic because that's what IT is all about. That's all we've done for about 5 decades is to automate things. But the vendors, especially the new RPA vendors, have gotten a lot of publicity. You look at some of the big platforms like Workday and NetSuite, and they're building out some automated workflows. ServiceNow has released a whole bunch of new workflows themselves that can automate things around employee onboarding and offboarding and facilities management and a gazillion other things. And I could go down the list, but you're well aware of some of these different categories. Even the teamwork optimization tools like Trello and Smartsheet and Monday, and Asana have started to build these kind of point and click interfaces where you can build many workflows and processes as well. So it's kind of, it's ubiquitous across the landscape. This is a long windup. So before we talk about technology, could you reflect for us a little on where you think the opportunities are from a business point of view, the automation opportunities? Is it in the back office, which is classically an area of focus? It is in the front office and the way you interact with your customers? Or do you think maybe it's more in the way your customers interact with you that there's some real opportunity here for some automation dividends?
Sure. So first of all, let me step back and say, I love that you called it out as it's just thing we've been doing for 5 decades. And every decade, I feel we come up with new buzzwords to define exactly what we did the last decade, but now it's new and improved. I mean, first off, a thing cannot be new and improved. If it's new, it cannot be improved. If it's improved, it cannot be new.
Oh, right? I remember that. I love that.
But yes, absolutely. Our job, our bread and butter has been about how to optimize technology for so long. And we've been doing that under different names. I think automation has a place everywhere. Absolutely in the back office. It's got a place, which we've been working on a lot. When I think about front office, when I think about customer support in a way, it's got absolutely a place there, and more smart ways of handling customer tickets and issues have come up over the past, I would say almost a couple of decades now, if not more. So automation is really just optimization, and we do it in processes, we do it in technology, and it's got a place everywhere.
Are there any tools that you've deployed recently or that you're looking at that you think have some special promise or utility for you to?
We actually have been doing quite a bit on this. So I'll again take a step back and say that we've been automating just using regular interfaces and other things for a very long time. Things like onboarding, offboarding, absolutely there. What has happened over the last couple of decades is as you already mentioned, it's more point and click. So almost I feel it's the same thing, except now we're doing it in an easier way. which means that the skill sets we need for automation are now different. I don't need a software engineer for all the automations. Now we kind of went from software SWEs to system engineers to business administrators, and now even to our business people. Actually, that's more the progression on who can automate versus automation. Sorry, go ahead. You have a question.
Just out of curiosity, are there some functional teams that have been kind of the first to the low code, no code revolution? I mean, that have really started to use some of these
Yeah, absolutely. So at my company right now, actually the RPA automation, which is what you mentioned, came out of the finance team, because there's a lot of need over there with invoice automation, and you've got these different vendor portals where they have to go pick up invoicing, and you can do EDI kind of stuff and all that, but you can easily do that. So RPA is it's an interesting tool. Again, as I said, automation, different people can do it. It's so easy to automate a bad process, and that's the thing we should be cautious about. But fintech, finance team, finally fintech under them, like that's where we started with our RPA automation. We actually had a couple of false starts and not that good experiences, which is, we fail, that happens. But now we have the mindset of automating processes that are needed, not necessarily automating everything, and keep that framework a little bit more manageable. So when we started doing it, we were trying to do like hundreds of bots and hundreds of processes. So we kind of went a little bit overboard, and then we had to refocus and resize and say, exactly, let's not automate bad processes. Our primary tool for automation is our ERP systems. RPA is just a secondary tool. Like if you look at your tool of things, it's one of the tools in my box. It's not the only tool for automation, and I want to use it in that priority order. But absolutely very helpful in a lot of things, like for our freight business unit, some billing exercises that we do there, it's been useful. For invoice automation, it's been useful. And we're also looking at a small part of offboarding. So not the entire offboarding, you can manage a lot of it, but at Uber, we've got more than 1,000 SaaS systems in use. Probably it's actually about 1,400 something. Excuse me. So when you look at that sphere, and obviously we've got single sign-on and MFA and all of that, and we can offboard at a lot of different levels. But there are some third-party applications that we want to do some extra steps, and that's where we might be able to use these kind of things.
Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We talked about that as an opportunity area. So let's talk about a challenge which a lot of businesses face, and that is dealing with privacy data. And, obviously your customers frequently use their credit cards, and maybe they exclusively use their credit cards to, interact with you as a service provider. But in addition to that, I mean, let's face it, Uber knows a lot about my geolocation and like where I go and places I visit and things of that nature. So I'm kind of curious if you've taken any steps to anonymize data or protect data in a certain way. I mean, is privacy data management considered to be a big challenge at Uber?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. We're completely secure. There's no challenges. I have no data about you, Mark, at all.
Okay, moving right along to the next.
No. You're absolutely right. So I think in the past 4 or 5 years, like with GDPR for CCPA, like there's been a lot of privacy concern related initiatives coming up. And absolutely, when you get all of this data, privacy becomes a concern. What is PII? What is sensitive data? Like I think a couple of decades ago, we were more focused on HIPAA data and all of those. But right now, as you said, for sure, like we've got a lot more information. Data has become so easy to store, to handle, to visualize. And we do a lot of steps at Uber to make sure that we are living up to the expectation of our customers. So stepping back, we break data into a few different areas, right? There is this product related data, which you said, where at point in time, like geolocations possible might be, and credit card information and all of that. Anything coming from our various products, from rides, from eats, from freight, anything else. But we also have a ton of enterprise corporate data. And all of this data is, so when you look at all the corporate data, you've got structured and non-structured data. So the first massive task becomes tagging and indexing all of this information. And as you obviously know, structured is still a little bit easier to do, and there's some quite good tools out there to go take a look at that. But there's also a ton of unstructured data that you're looking at and making sure it's all tagged, it's indexed. First step is knowing where it is. Where are the backups? How is it in the backups? Is it, basic things, at least just table stakes as encryption, protection, access control. You only get to see data that you need, audits on top of it. So we do have all of that. After that, it's absolutely like, what is the lifetime of data? Like, how do you make sure that you don't keep it any longer than you need it? So retention controls, all of that need to be put in place. So I would say we've put in a lot of effort. We really try to make sure all of the data is safe. It's not accessible outside. We've got very, very smart security controls where we need approvals to make sure that we can look at some amount of data. We also have indexed and tagged all of it. But third-party vendor information, third-party vendors, that's a whole different ballgame too.
Right, yeah.
You look across all of that, I think it's a pretty hard problem, the whole thing, because data is living. I mean, what probably I did like last week is now it's changed as of this week. So still some more work to do, but we do a lot of, we do all of the above that we talked about in different ways, shape, or form.
Did CCPA have any, immediate direct impact, or did that trigger any actions on your part?
CCPA is again it did. So, but we did we had a huge effort for GDPR right before that.
Right.
So they kind of came in succession. So we were able to use a lot of what a lot of good habits and a lot of good processes that we had formed for GDPR work became very useful for CCP. I mean, in the end, it's one is all European Union policy, but the thing was it could be anybody who traveled anywhere. So it became like an all over the world kind of a thing. And then CCPA, we got some more extra stuff on top.
So my last question, I tried to avoid COVID, and I am going to avoid COVID, but when you look back over the last 5 or 6 months, what we've been through, if you were going to hand out some technology awards to your portfolio of systems and tools, your most valuable player, call it your most valuable technologies, the 2 or 3 things, and they could be like a vendor product, but it could be a homegrown system as well that was just so essential to being able to weather the storm. What awards would you give your own portfolio?
Okay, that's a fun one. So as a background, Uber's a pretty tech savvy company for the most part. People were very used to working from home in central offices. We've got a pretty big footprint of our COEs or our where our technicians sit to help our driver partners or rider partners, customers, all of that, right? So for us, the huge lift was to make sure that our call center employees and partners can work from home. And our footprints all over the world. So in different parts of the world, like in Philippines, we had a different timeline. India, different timeline. We were able to deliver stuff by the morning, and 6 hours later, everything shut down. So desktop as a service, our DaaS, completely saved our bacon. We literally put 28,000 people working across the world in less than 6 days. It was huge. So DaaS was very important. From DaaS, we also are transitioning to VDI, but it's a cost benefit experiment at this point that we are trying to do, because VDI is going to be cheaper for us in the longer run, but we couldn't have done without our DaaS systems. Second stuff, I would say, which is really important for us, all of our multi-factor authentications and single sign-offs and all of that, because we were able to quickly make sure everything was secure all over, especially for the COEs. Our collab systems, Zoom, Slack, that. I mean, you probably are sick of hearing that, but again, those are really important. And I'll just group them all as a collab system, because we went through different time frames in the COVID era. At first it was all about, oh my God, how are we going to get our work done? How are we going to collaborate? Whiteboard technologies, which Zoom had, and all of that. So we had to use all of that. And then we went through the Black Lives Matter phase, where there was, again, a lot of emotions from our employees, and we needed to connect in different ways. So I think collab systems, I would give them some very needed kudos. And then third, I'll just make a complete shameless plug about this, but Uber Eats. It's not my product, but God damn it, I wouldn't have survived without Uber Eats. And they deliver alcohol now, so which is great because previously my household was running on Uber Eats and Drizzly, and now it's just Uber Eats. And it's been great because, you know, food and drinks pretty important for everything else to work.
We've hit the high note there. I don't think we can add anything more to that list. Absolutely. And we call that a business innovation, I think, the addition of the alcohol.
Well, we'll do that.
Well, you've been very generous with your time and very insightful, actually. I think your comments about both privacy data management and automation, there's some, you know, interesting insights there that many of the listeners can pick up on. I hope you're feeling better. I feel like I'm extending your cold or your sniffles there.
Oh my God, no, it's just allergies. It's actually terrible. Like if you cough during this COVID era on a call or something, people start giving you the look. For me, it's just allergies, and I've been gardening a lot. Again, like I think that'll be one of the other hobbies which come out as a big trend after the COVID era, that everybody is like, now everybody has a garden. So I've got some allergies, but thank you for asking.
Well, it's great. It's great to see you. I can't wait until the first dinner we can actually go to again together. You know,
Absolutely. Mark, it was very nice to see you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time and take care.